everybody, and here I am back again for another adventure, and got my Wattcycle battery at 100%. It's been there all morning because I haven't run anything off of it. You can see behind there the controller says 14.2, so it's all the way up there. It also says 14.2 on the Wattcycle shunt and battery monitor, and we say 100%. So we have power to go. All right, so here we go. We're going to turn on the inverter, and it runs right up. And now the refrigerator over there, let me adjust this. The refrigerator over there is running. It is plugged in. And as you can see, I moved some things around and I took the board off of the metal struts that are over there. So that's where the refrigerator is going to go, because I can't put it where the inlet for the gas is. Just not enough room to push it back that far. So what I'm going to do is put the sink right there, because I don't want a stove over the top of the gas filler area, of course. So I can fit 2 bottles, plastic 5-gallon bottles, underneath there. One will have fresh water for input, and the other one will be for catching the gray water that comes out of it. And then the gray water will be easy to remove, to fill, and so will the fresh water. I haven't decided whether I'm going to put a 12-volt pump in there or just have a manual type pump. I do have a small pump unit that runs on batteries. You just flip the switch and it pumps the water out on one of the Harbor Freight deals. I've never used it, but I might give that a try and see how that works. And then if I have to modify it down the way, I will. But yeah, that might give me a little better thing. So I'm looking for one of my big stainless steel mixing bowls. If I can't find it, I'll look for a cheap one at the swap meet, and I'll turn that into a sink. I'll drill the bottom out for a small 1.5-inch drain basket, and then the faucet doesn't have to go in there. Then a little bit of silicone around it and set it down in a hole in the countertop. That should handle it. So I'm going to be getting going here on this project. As you can see, we're still at 100%, even though the refrigerator now is running full force to try to catch up because it's been unplugged all day. But we got plenty of power in the battery, right? Yes, we do. Wattcycle. I'm really liking this company. And I think you guys would like them too. Give them a try. They've got some great prices. All right, so we're going to move around back here. There's the board I took off that went across the wall inside the van. And what I'm going to be doing is cutting that into 1-inch wide strips. And that's going to be the framework for the cabinetry. Because I need some type of framework to mount it on. The problem is I'm out of glue. So I'm probably going to have to make some glue to go with it. But I can do that because I have plenty of old styrofoam laying around here from shipments I've received. And the styrofoam mixed with anything like paint thinner or anything like that will melt and become a sticky, gooey glue. Now, you don't want to use anything that takes a long time to dry, like gasoline, because it has oil in it. It's going to take forever to dry. That's okay if you're using that on a rubber tire or like a wheelbarrow tire or something like that. But for the woodwork, I want something that's going to dry fast. And I'm all out of acetone too. So I'm going to have to see what I've got in my paint area to work with. All right, so over here, I've got my kilowatt meter plugged in right there, and you can see the 2 zeros on it. That's because I have it set at watts. And there, of course, my hands are busy, so a fly is bothering me. So on this side, I have the first board to cut for one of the boards for one of the side panels on the cabinetry. So I'm going to be cutting that here in a second, but the reason I set it up this way is because I'm going to be taking that plug out of there. I'm not going to be running off the cabin power. I'm going to be running all my power tools off of the van power for the whole day while I'm doing work. And we're going to see how we hold up for doing that. And I'll tell you why later down the line. But I'm not going to record every minute of everything I'm doing all day here. I'm just going to pause the video and then turn it back on when something interesting is happening. Because we're already at 6 minutes, otherwise it's going to be a 3-hour video. So we're going to try to cut it down by only videoing the highlights. All right, so keep your eye on that gauge right there. I'm going to fire up the saw so we can see how much it uses. Make sure my board's out of the way. 240 to 245. Settling it at 240. So let's call it 240 watts. That's a pretty good draw right there. And I got it running, so I may as well cut this first board. You see how nice and smooth of a cut it did on there. It makes it really super smooth. It's silky smooth. So that's the first sideboard, and I'll be putting 2 of these together. Let's see, it goes this way. Not this piece, but another one. But they snap together like that, and then that will be the width of the cabinetry right there. 2 boards wide, which is about the same as almost the same as the refrigerator. So this should work out pretty good. So I'll be doing another cut on this pretty soon. So I'm going to be switching over to the other power. The other thing is I also have some cleaner here. So I can clean these boards off because they've been dirty for a while. And I think I got some old rags around here. There. That looks a little better, doesn't it? Yeah, that'll make a nice dark wood cabinet panels for the cabinetry in there. So that's it. I'm going to pause for right now, get my power switched over out of here over to my extension cord, which I already have running out the bottom of the van right there, as you can see. And that comes over right to the other side of the saw, so that's where the plug's going to go right now. And then I'm going to run an extension cord off of the back of the van next to this one, where this one's plugged in the van. And it's going to go over to my little chop saw, which is right outside the door right out there. As a matter of fact, I'll take you over and show you that. There's my chop saw, and there's a bunch of the pieces of wood that paneled. The panels I'm going to use. And I've got plenty more, so some of those are really damaged badly, but I need to cut some narrow strips out of them lengthways, and I'll be able to do that with the table saw that I'm using here, but not till I get the measurements for that. For right now, I'm going to pause this because I'm going to cut, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 8 more of the ones that I just cut. So this is G-Bear pausing. Okay, everybody, so I'm back, and I've been working most of the day. I have to stop in between and take care of the dogs, and they were pretty good most of the day, but then right around supper time they started to become a pain. Susie Q here's a good girl. Aren't you a good girl, huh? Yeah, you listen when I talk to you. That little runt Limpy drives me up a wall. So anyway, been running air compressor with the air stapler, the chop saw, this table saw, and that table saw I only use for the fine cuts on the cabinetry. But for all the rough cutting wood goes on this saw. But I've been running all of those, plus the refrigerator running in the van all day long. Of course, remember, I do have 200 watts of solar coming in. And this is what I got done here. And I got all the other boards already cut for the side spacers. So there'll be one more side end going on that far end over there. The wheel well's going to end up getting inside of one of the cabinets. I'll put a shelf around it so I can put stuff down low and put stuff up high. This cabinet, I just put those 2 boards in there. Those aren't the ones that are going there. And that one's got a crack in it right there, and that one's got a chipped corner down there. I just wanted to see how they were going to fit, so I just used a couple of pieces of scrap to put in there. So I've got my 2 side stiles that have to go on there, or in there. They actually go inside of the part of the cabinet, just like the bottom piece and that aluminum piece in the top. And what's that aluminum piece? Well, you know how I saved stuff and I always say I'm going to use that someday. Well, that's a part of an old level set of blinds, and it was the channel at the top of it. I had it stored in the top of my shop here for going on 10 years, 9 years at least. So it's no, actually 8 years. Yeah, about 8 years it's been in there. But I found a reason to use it, and I've still got enough to do the rest of the cabinets. It's sitting out there by the saws. Got the refrigerator in, and I raised it up off the ground, and I got an airspace under it. Now when I put the face on this, which will be all of this type of wood, it's going to have a face all the way around it. Underneath there, I'll make some saw cuts lengthways, about every 3/8 of an inch, so that there's airflow under the refrigerator. And I left an inch space on each side of it, so it's got airflow on the sides. But I'm still thinking I may drill a with a hole saw, and put a hole saw hole in there, maybe a couple of 3 inches at the top to let the heat out on both sides. The heat can come out and go into the other cabinets, but I want to be able to let heat out of the cabinetry so that the refrigerator doesn't overwork. So, with all of that being said, how much power did I use out of my Wattcycle 200 amp hour battery? Any guesses? Come on. Oh, okay, you in the back right, back there. No, you. No. You, right there. You. What do you think? How much power did I use out of that battery with everything running and the refrigerator running all day? Well, let's take a look. 95%. I still have 189 of the 200 amp hours left. running all those power tools all day long and the refrigerator out of the van here. And that's all I used out of that. So that is what my point is to you guys out there who are planning on moving off grid. If you have a van set up like I do, and you put in a Wattcycle 200 amp hour battery and a Wattcycle 350 amp shunt and battery monitor, and you use a 2000 watt inverter. Now remember, this is not pure sine, this is modified sine, so it's using a little extra. It's using more than it should. So with those and just 200 watts of solar coming in, you can work all day long with your power tools. And I'm not talking little tiny power tools like a little drill motor or anything. I'm talking about a chop saw, a table saw, a bigger table saw, all these tools, and an air compressor. I was running all this stuff, not all at the same time, but I've been using it all day long, and that's all I've taken out of the battery. So if you're going to be moving off grid, you can't beat this, because you got things to build, and you can run all your power tools right out of your van or your pickup truck with a camper shell on the back. All you have to do is set it up like this. I like a van better than a pickup truck because with a van, I can keep all my tools inside and I can close and lock the doors. And I don't have to take them out or worry about leaving a guy sitting in the truck when I'm at Home Depot or someplace to worry about somebody stealing all the tools out of the back of my truck. And it has happened to a lot of the contractor friends I have known over the years. They park their pickup truck in the Home Depot, go in to get something, come out, and they're missing a chop saw or a tile saw or something. Somebody just walked by and unloaded it for them. But I like this better. And it's even better if you have some way of blocking off the windows so they can't see. They can't look inside. Or do like I do and have cameras in the van, so somebody does look in the windows, you got them on camera. When you call the sheriff to say, hey, this was stolen out of my van right here in this parking lot, you say, it's pretty much going to be this guy right here, because you can see him breaking in and stealing the item. All right. So anyway, there'll be insulation going in behind those cabinets to insulate from the outer wall to the cabinetry so that it stays a little bit cooler inside the cabinetry. And then I'm going to have to wait until I get some money, and I'll get a laminated countertop from Home Depot that'll fit across the whole top, one solid piece. I'll put that in place, and then I'll cut my sink in. And then over here is just going to be basically storage. So I'm thinking that instead of making the cabinet as wide as I've done that one, I may go down to just one panel wide, just a little shallow cabinet back here, just to store things in. I don't need another big cabinet taking up extra space. Because sooner or later I'm going to be putting a smaller cabinet on this side, just big enough so that I can set a small propane stove on there to cook on while I'm out camping. I could also just basically I put a propane stove on this side of the refrigerator on top of that cabinetry, and then on this side just make a small cabinet enough to cover my Wattcycle batteries and my inverters and all of that stuff, just so that they're out of sight, out of mind. What enough airspace in there so that they can stay cool. A lot of times I'll be laying in bed and all of a sudden a good idea comes to me. That's about it. One other thing while I'm over here. You're wondering about what these panels are for. Well, because I don't want, oh, sorry about the fingers in the camera, because I don't want swing out doors that take up space when you got to get into the cabinet. I made these sliding doors so they will slide back and forth like this. That's it. So I can slide it open, put my water bottle in there, slide them to the other side and put my water bottle in the other side, and I've got the bottom set up. I'll measure the distance I need and I'll put a little shelf in there just lower than the sink with a horseshoe cut out of it so I can put stuff on both sides on the shelf in there. And you know, just store some things like soaps and sponges and that stuff. Because everything's got to be set so that when you're driving it doesn't end up all on the floor. But I've had an RV before. I know exactly what I'm doing. But that's the idea behind all of this. What do you think, everybody? Pretty cool, huh? Thanks for joining me. This is G Bear signing off.